agency which is supposed to protect that child.
Last night, 7 News reported on a little girl's claims of alleged sexual abuse at the hands of her father. The child's mother blames a total breakdown in the social services system for granting custody of that child to the father. Julie Hayden joins us now with more. Julie?
Well, Bert, the social services says that the abuse was not substantiated, but the little girl's stories continued for nearly 3 years. The mother says the system never got to the bottom of why the child kept making the allegations. Social services says that's difficult in cases like this, so they do the best they can. Well, the mother says in her daughter's case, the best they can is an outrage. Now, we're concealing people's faces and are not using their real names to protect the child's identity, and some of you may find parts of this story disturbing. Sarah's mother says her daughter was 2.5 years old when she started talking about bad touches.
She came home after a visit with her father, and a friend of mine, myself were here together, and she had her nightgown on and had taken off her panties and had placed her finger in her vagina and said that her daddy touches her here.
The father denied it. He says he loves his daughter and would never hurt her. Arapahoe County Social Services launched an investigation. It concluded the abuse could not be substantiated, and Social Services recommended more visits, including overnights, for Sarah and her father. Sarah's cries continued.
She's coming home, hiding under the dining room table, will not come out, displaying, she says that her dad's touching her again.
She told her babysitter, who called Social Services.
They wouldn't return the calls, and I would tell them what was going on, and nothing was being done. Nothing.
Social Services stood by its initial conclusion.
I can't even comprehend how a system can fail a child like this.
I think that they've made a mistake from the start, and it's just a cover-up since.
I was told to keep quiet. I was told not to take her to a doctor or not to bring up the abuse again.
But Sarah's mother didn't drop it, and she says the more she pushed, the more Social Services refused to budge.
We feel continued questioning of children, continued examination of children is not really helpful, and especially when the information continues to be fairly similar.
Social Services, by law, can't talk about this case specifically, but they explain in cases like this, there are many reasons why a child might continue to make allegations.
That kind of situation may trigger some kind of spontaneous kind of statements that have to do with the fact that the child is remembering something that may have occurred before or an experience that they had before.
After Social Services stood by its initial finding, the parents resumed their custody fight over Sarah. The court was aware of the allegations, but both sides elected not to make them an issue. Instead, arguments focused on who would be the better parent.
The question is, what can we do with that family to help this child move on from this incident?
Social Services recommended the father get custody of the child. The court agreed. Sarah's mother, who gets to see her daughter just 1 hour a week, believes she was punished for fighting the system. Even though Sarah is away from her mother's influence, the stories continue. Sarah's daycare provider told me the little girl says she's afraid to sleep in her bed at night. They say they've called Social Services a number of times, but the agency refuses to come talk to the child. Social Services now says it's reopened the case and will review it. The district attorney has decided to review the case as well. While Sarah's case has become so muddied, we may never know the truth about the allegations of sexual abuse. Her mother says one thing is true. Sarah was abused by a system supposed to protect her. The DA and Social Services reopened their investigations based on what they called new information. But the mother says they had that information more than a year ago. Now, Ernie and Bertha, we obviously touched a nerve in this story. We've received numerous calls all day long. The Kemp Center says they have also from people who claim to have had similar experiences with Social Services.
And you're also getting a number of calls from people who want to do something about this.
That's right. I had a lot of calls from people who said they just want to call, like a district attorney, they want to call Social Services, somebody to just say, hey, we're looking at this and we want you to know that, we care what happens.
Yeah. Okay, you'll be following it up.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.